I want to talk about the Zombies franchise, specifically the first one. That's why I look like this. I watched the first 3 Zombies films a few years ago around Halloween, but it was when the 4th one came out this past summer that I knew I wanted to talk about them. Vampires versus light people? Come on, sign me up. But before we can get to light people, we must talk about the first film, Zombies. But before we get to that, hi, I'm Adelaide, writer, YouTuber, Twitch streamer, and normally I don't look like this. I have a bachelor's in creative writing. I love talking about stories. Something you might not know about me is that I actually really like monsters. My current writing project is all about vampires, so this is right up my alley. And if any of that is interest of you, then please feel free to subscribe. Before we drop into this franchise though, I think it's important that we take a detour and talk about the zombies of pop culture. Most of you probably already know what I'm about to talk about, whether through watching zombies on TV and film yourself or just through cultural osmosis. And if that's the case, and you're sitting there like, ugh, Adelaide, this is boring, then I'm gonna put a timestamp down below so you can jump. But if you're still here, then let's talk about the basics. In pop culture, we consider zombies to be a reanimated dead body that shambles around in search of one thing: brains. And it seems to be specifically freshly killed brains, but that is debatable depending on the franchise. Now, how you turn into a zombie is usually by being bitten by a zombie. Zombies, you'll notice, are very teeth forward, much like toddlers. They're always trying to bite stuff. But then you'll also have franchises like Walking Dead, where anyone who dies in any way will automatically turn into a zombie, if not destroyed. Now, how do you kill/destroy a zombie? You do so by destroying the brain. That seems to be where the parasite lives. And usually, the arrival of zombies leads to the apocalypse of that world. So it usually starts as a sickness that kills its host. And it is after the person dies that the illness reanimates the body itself and causes it to seek out more hosts, meaning that there is no consciousness to the body and it is only acting on parasitic instinct to continue the spread of the virus. Other small facts about zombies: they usually wander around in hordes. They can't talk, and because they're dead, the body is actively decomposing. This is where franchises like Walking Dead come into play, because Walking Dead's a great example of how, depending on where a zombie is, they can decompose in different ways. You get some very waterlogged zombies near bodies of water in that show. And another thing of note is that oftentimes in monster films, when you have a bigger monster that's a little bit more amorphous, it's a stand-in for big societal concepts. Oftentimes, the true villain is things like racism or sexism or grief, like the Babadook. So, now that we're all on the same page, what is the lore established by the first Zombies film? Well, you are in luck, because right at the start, they give us a little lore drop. Our setting is Seabrook, a pristine white picket fence town, and they are known for their power plant. One day, there's an accident where an employee spills lime soda on a control panel. The plant explodes, releasing a, quote, contaminated green haze. And anyone who encounters this haze is turned into a zombie. And the apocalypse ensues. This whole debacle led to, as they say, quote, dark times. And then ultimately, in order to combat the zombie hordes, the citizens of Seabrook put up a big wall to keep them out. And this wall worked well enough that they were able to rebuild society within it. That was 50 years ago. As science evolved, they found a way to help zombies. The Z-Band, which, quote, delivers a soothing dose of electromagnetic pulses that keep us from eating brains. These zombies are people. They're not dead. They're just people who crave human brains. Now that they have their wits about them, zombies have been living pretty normal lives for the past few decades. They have jobs and kids who are being born as zombies, by the way. So while the initial creation of zombies was these people getting sick, it does seem to be that something generationally has changed, where this is a permanent thing where people are genetically being born as zombies and not humans. But they still live on the other side of the wall in Zombie Town. And living in Zombie Town, there are a few rules that they have to follow. For one, they have to wear their Z-bands at all times. 2, they have to wear government-issued coveralls. 3, no pets, because there is a widely held belief that zombies will eat pets.
We get the worst jobs in a curfew at night.
And 4, they have to stay on their side of the wall. At least they did until the start of our story. Because our story starts on the first day of school when zombie segregation has ended. Wait. Let me rephrase that. Our story starts on the first day of zombie integration. No, I'm not kidding. So yeah, the Zombies films have this weird sort of thing where a lot of their characters are in fact stand-ins for minority groups. And this is so blatant that it is surely intentional, but it is kind of controversial in some ways. There are a lot of people who really like it, and there's a lot of people who don't. Disney doesn't love controversy. It's an edgy choice to say the least, and it does get kind of messy as the films go on, because it can make some of the character decisions made in future films a little questionable, which does offer nuance, but people just have different feelings on that. First up, let's talk about Seabrook. Seabrook, as the name suggests, is a coastal town. We do not know which coast. They have loads of money and resources. That is demonstrated very clearly by their homes and the high school, which looks more like a college. The color palette of Seabrook is pastels. Specifically, we see a lot of baby blues and baby pinks, though it's not to differentiate gender. You see boys wearing pink and girls wearing blue all the time. But I think it's more to illustrate the cookie cutter of it all. It actually reminds me of the film But I'm a Cheerleader. And that would be a really neat callback if it's intentional, because cheerleading is a big aspect of this film. However, using pink and blue as a visual cue for a cookie cutter mindset is not only found in this film and But I'm a Cheerleader. You also see it in films like A Wrinkle in Time. But that would certainly still be funny if it was But I'm a Cheerleader, a lesbian film, mind you, because Disney did cancel The Owl House. No, I'm not bitter. What are you talking about? This cookie cutter mindset is vital, because in Seabrook, being different is bad and will get you ostracized. This is further proved by the fact that their frozen yogurt place only serves vanilla yogurt. And isn't that just sad? Because vanilla really is the worst one. Our main setting of the movie is Seabrook High School, and there is a lot to learn about this world from there. Since the zombie apocalypse, they have installed in Seabrook High a, quote, zombie alarm, which looks visually a lot like a fire alarm, except when you pull the zombie alarm, the students are supposed to go into these bunkers inside the school, where it seems like you could probably live for a while. There's bunk beds and freezers and cooking utensils and washing machines. Another thing about Seabrook High is they have a really terrible football team, but a really good cheer team. And the cheer team is actually their main focus. Their mascot is the Mighty Shrimp, which is both silly and fun. And their school colors are hot pink and lime green, which I do hate that, actually. Their cheer captain at school is Bucky Barnes, and he is apparently, at least self-described, the most popular person in school, along with his clique of cheer captain assistants called the ACs. Stacy, Lacey, and of course, Tracy. And apparently, the creator of The Wave went to Seabrook High many years ago, so there's a big legacy of cheer at this school. Though it is implied that the creator of The Wave was a cheerleader, but not confirmed. Bucky is also incredibly prejudiced against zombies. And he says that this is because a zombie tried to eat his grandfather. But it is later confirmed that what actually happened was a zombie tried to bite his grandfather's ear. No murder attempt. Though something that was not in my script but is kind of interesting is there is never any idea that if a zombie bites you, you will turn into a zombie. That's never confirmed or denied or mentioned at all in this world. So I don't know if the implication was that he was just biting him and it was like friendly and there was no stakes to that besides like, hey, don't bite people you don't know. Or if it was like, no, he was trying to turn him to a zombie. But I feel like the way the regulations loosen would have been more of a concern if they were trying to not get other people turned into zombies. Regardless, it would be very bad if someone who was not wearing a Z-band turned into a zombie, because then they would try to eat people. So my assumption that is not confirmed is that zombie bites don't do anything in this world. But anyway, because of this prejudice that Bucky has, part of cheer initiation is a hazing where they drop new cheer recruits off in Zombie Town and give them a carton of eggs and they just tell them to egg the houses. That is all we learn about Seabrook in the first film. On to Zombie Town. Zombie Town is constructed of a lot of older style buildings. The zombies have a very eclectic and repurposed sense of decorating, and this extends to their fashion. Because they have to wear these government issued coveralls, they've taken to upcycling them to add more individuality. And oftentimes the things they use to upcycle these clothes are items you wouldn't normally consider for clothing. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but an example of this is that one of our zombie leads, Zed, he wants to be a football player. And so you actually see a lot of pieces of deconstructed footballs on his clothing. And it's really cool. Though, unfortunately, this is a culture that they've developed that seems to come out of necessity. It's because they lack a lot of the same resources that Seabrook has. Specific mentions in Zombie Town are made to having little to no access to water, and they mention in a song everything in Zombie Town being dusty and moldy.
Just a little bit of dust and a little bit of mold.
But despite all of this, zombies in Zombie Town have built up a thriving culture of their own. They've developed their own written and spoken language.
He just dropped that in Zombie.
They dress mostly in greens and maroons, and all of their kids are named Z-related names. They've also built these beautiful sculptural gardens that they call light gardens in place of the natural flora that they lack because of little to no water. Nothing can really grow there. Also, perhaps, I'm thinking of this now, it could be also because of the electrical plant, like the explosion. It could have been a radiation thing and they can't grow on Zombie Town soil, but I don't know that to be true. They even cook cauliflower as a vegetarian form of brain substitute. They also have these really cool parties that they call Zombie Mash, and they've written their own music that uses words of the zombie tongue, as well as dances to go along to these songs that are inspired by zombie-esque movements. Zombie Town is located in the part of town where the old power plant was. And our teen zombies are seen having these zombie mash parties in the old abandoned power plant. Zed, our zombie lead, even makes reference to living on the other side of the tracks.
But it ain't so bad on this side of the tracks.
Which is an element to real life segregation that Black people experienced in America. So the parallel appears to be very intentional. So let's talk established zombie traits from this film. Because of the Z-bands, they can eat normal food just fine and they don't crave brains. They do apparently walk a little bit differently than humans, specifically having a sort of dragging motion to their steps. This is mentioned because Eliza, one of our other zombie characters, makes reference to needing orthopedic shoes because she drags her feet. But on screen, they seem to walk like all of the other students just fine. So I wonder if this would be considered more of an invisible illness, something that they feel in their steps but you can't see from the outside. And something to do with the Z-band that I don't think is further on in the script is that the craving of the brains and the more intense zombie effects seem to create like a rush of adrenaline that makes it really hard for them to stay in control of themselves. Like, I think the Z-bands kind of give them their sanity back, whereas if they go full on zombie, while they do experience some traits we'll talk about in a little bit once we get into the Z-Bands more, it does seem to be that like zombieism inherently without a Z-Band creates this like rush of adrenaline. Though it does seem to be an instinct that zombie children are inherently scared of fire. This might be something that they instinctually feel as children, but then grow out of as they get older. This is why I believe this. There is a scene where Bucky, the human cheer captain, tries to, quote, set off our zombie characters by using a small firework as a part of the big finish for their pep rally. It doesn't work on Eliza or Zed, but it does work on Bonzo. Bonzo starts to get scared. He starts to freak out a bit. And when this happens, Zed is trying to comfort him, and he says something along the lines of, "But I thought we were past this," when he's trying to comfort him. It's both Bucky's choice to do this, paired with Bonzo's reaction, that makes me think that this is common knowledge that zombies are scared of fire, but what is actually true, perhaps, is that zombie children are sometimes scared of fire, and it is something that they can grow out of as they get older. So let's talk characters. There are 3 characters in this film that are vital to the lore. I took notes on all the other characters though, so as they become relevant in future films, I will fill you in on any details that are important. Our main characters of interest today though are Zed, Addison, and Eliza. Let's start with Zed. His full name is Zed Necrodopolopoulos. I kid you not, it's delightful. He is a zombie who's about to start school at Seabrook High, and he really wants to be on the football team. It's his dream. But unfortunately, he can't join because zombies aren't allowed to participate in extracurricular activities because they put them in contact with the human students. We'll come back to Zed later. Next up is Addison. Addison is not a zombie, and more than anything, she just wants to join the cheer squad. Though, unfortunately, Addison is weird. No, I'm kidding. But no, seriously, kinda. She does have this medical abnormality where her hair is white and nothing she does can change it. Like, she's tried dyeing it, she's tried doing all sorts of things, and it doesn't work. And so Addison has to wear a wig. Because in Seabrook, sticking to the status quo is imperative. And if people knew that she wore a wig, she would not be allowed to join the cheer squad and she would be ostracized. So she's walking into high school with this big secret. Also, Addison's mom's first name is Missy, and she is the mayor. And her dad, his first name is Dale, and he is the head of Zombie Patrol, which seems to be a stand-in for the police department because they do not also have a police department. And her cousin, Bucky, is the cheer captain, who, as I said, hates zombies. Also, just to tie that back to you, there was that idea that Bucky's grandpa, that like some kind of zombie had tried to eat his grandpa. That means that that is most likely, from what I understand, also Addison's grandfather. Though because it's like cousins, it could be like on the other side of Bucky's family. Like it could be if they shared like if their moms or sisters or something, it could be his dad's dad, you know? I don't know. And then the other thing that I don't know if I mentioned in my script, so I'm going to say it here, is that the big thing with Addison is that her grandmother and her mom were both in cheer. And so for Addison, it's also like a legacy thing. She really wants to be on the cheer squad because her whole family was on cheer squad. Something else I just remembered about Addison specifically. Addison, despite her parents being the mayor and the head of Zombie Patrol, is not zombie racist. She is like the only person who is not wary of zombies. And she's most certainly would be someone who was like fed zombie propaganda, and yet she's not. She has no ill feelings towards zombies. She's like, they're people just like us. They've been allowed into school. Yep, everything's cool now that they've been allowed into school. She doesn't really understand a lot of the issues and the hardship that zombies have gone through, but she does have sympathy for zombies in places where other humans do not, which I think is an interesting distinction. Like, you would assume that someone whose parents were essentially the mayor and head of police, she would have been fed all of this propaganda and believe all these terrible things. But instead, what you find from Addison is that she has rather protective parents and she is incredibly naive. I don't know. I just think that's interesting. And lastly, we have Eliza. Eliza is a zombie. Basics on Eliza. She's a zombie. She's friends with Zed. She's also a zombie activist, and she's big on standing up against a lot of the laws that zombies are forced to live under.
We'll never be accepted. Zombies need to rise up.
And when she gets to Zebrook High, she really wants to join the computer club because she's kind of a computer geek, but like a cool one. And at the start of the film, she's already hacked her Z-Band so that she can play video games on it. And just as a personal note, she has really cool earrings. Zebrook High is not kind to its zombie students. They are separated from the human students by a fence, forced to attend classes in the basement, and forbidden from extracurricular activities. And they don't even get a real teacher. Instead, their teacher was a janitor who doesn't really want to be there. And by the way, this janitor is also a zombie, which has its own set of implications because he's the janitor at Zebrook High, meaning that zombies do work in some cases on the other side of the wall. He literally says this, quote, "Look, 45 minutes ago, I was the janitor, so bear with me." With which the integration parallels also is kind of interesting. And another thing that's not in the script, but I was rewatching one of the music sequences from the beginning of the film. And I also noticed that when Eliza's talking about zombies standing up against the laws, she mentions the fact that they have to work the worst jobs. So here's my theory. I think this could be a part of why all of the humans in Seabrook are so wealthy. Because there could be a lot of zombies working all of the lower level jobs that the humans don't want to work. And so the humans have all of these cushy, nicer jobs, and then all of the zombies are doing the quote, and excuse my pun, but I must make it, grunt work. However, the school janitor is the only zombie we actively see working in Seabrook. In fact, I think he might be one of a handful of zombies we see working at all. And there is this big thing with the idea of humans and zombies interacting at all and keeping that from being a thing. So that's where this theory falls apart a little, because I don't know how they're working, like fast food or something, if they're not interacting with people as well. And like when we do see them at the yogurt shop, the people working at the yogurt shop are humans. And there's a lot of businesses zombies aren't allowed in either. So it's like, where is the line drawn in the sand for jobs zombies can work and jobs they can't? It is not confirmed by this film alone, at the very least. So next up, let's talk about Z-Bands. Hello, it is in fact a little later today. I had to take off and then reapply the makeup. I don't think I got it as extreme. I tried. Well, anyway, let's talk about Z-Bands. Pretty much all of the world-changing actions that happen in this film are connected to Zed's Z-Band. First, what happens is during that prep rally with the fireworks, Zed's Z-Band gets smacked and it goes on the fritz. It makes him more zombie and he gets super strong and fast, which of course then gives us zombie lore that without the Z-Bands, they would experience this rush of adrenaline and be very strong and fast. His voice also gets lower when he's like in zombie mode. It's kind of giving like Hulk energy. This essentially implies that without Z-Bands, zombies are naturally stronger and faster than humans. During this incident, he does a feat of athleticism that catches the eye of the football coach, and he gets to join the football team. Him joining the football team gives zombies the opportunity to eat in the cafeteria with the human students. And there's the promise that if Zed is able to win the football team games, that he will be able to gain access for zombie students to get more privileges in the future. But unfortunately, football is hard if you don't have super strength and speed. And his human teammates do not have his back because they don't want him there. So he goes to Eliza to hack Z-Band. And this is what we learn. A hacked Z-Band, when swiped one way, because it's touchscreen, of course it is, will make you more zombie. And swiped the other way will make you more human. But if you swiped the human side, it will corrupt the software. And from swiping it too often back and forth between regular zombie to super zombie, Zed's arm that has his Z-Band on it starts to get red and it hurts. Specifically his wrist. But because Zed has started winning them so many games, other zombies have now gotten the opportunity to join extracurricular activities. Of course, for plot reasons, aka for Addison because he loves her, Zed turns his Z-Band all the way to the human side and it corrupts the software. So when he goes back to the full-on zombie side, he loses control and he almost hurts another student. To be clear though, this is partially because of mean kid meddling. He almost hurts that student, but he does not. Zed and his friends, because of this, get sent to, I shit you not, zombie containment. And that's never explained, except for Zed's bleak explanation that it's not fun, which is just very ominous to me, quite frankly. It just sounds bleak. Because of this, Z-Bands get updated so they can no longer be corrupted and messed with. But they do get Wi-Fi, which Zed says like it's a plus, but as someone who is now living in 2026, them having Wi-Fi is like, oh, because they're tracking you. They're tracking you. That's why it has Wi-Fi. And that stresses me out a little bit. Unfortunately, because of this incident, zombies have lost all of the rights that they've gained. And they all have to stay in Zombie Town. But plot stuff, the big cheer competition is coming up. And at this cheer competition, they are able to end zombie racism through cheerleading. I kid you not. We end the story with zombies having won back the rights that Zed helped them gain by helping Seabrook win a regional cheer competition. The whole thing ends with them bringing the humans to Zombie Town for a block party. Zoe, Zed's little sister, gets a puppy, which then makes me ask the question, has that law changed and now zombies can have pets as well? That's also maybe a new law won by Zed. And Bucky is no longer racist. Lovely. That's where the first film ends. So, final thoughts. And so that is the end of Zombies 1, also known as Zombies. I really love the visuals of this film. I think they're really great. I love the singing. I love the dancing. I think that it's cool that they're covering heavier topics, and that they're finding a way to talk about these things. I think that it's important that we're always talking about things like this. Specifically topics like racism, and I think that is really neat that that's being covered in a Disney film. Now, whether or not they did a good job of that is most certainly up for interpretation, but I think it's cool that they tried. I do think that. I think that it's kind of cool that they tried. Oh, a general note. Even if you've watched this entire video and you have not seen the film, I think you should still go watch Zombies, because there is literally so much happening in this film and this franchise in general that I have barely scratched the surface in just covering the lore. The characters are funny, the costuming is great, the visuals delicious, and the music is really fun, and the characters and the story, like, I didn't cover most of it. I know I covered like the most important plot beats, but like I think there's so much other cheesy stuff to enjoy that if you love an over-the-top story, you should still go watch Zombies. So please go watch it, and tell me what you think, because it's an interesting conversation starter. The next video in this series will be about Zombies 2. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, whether or not I make this a series is partially dependent on how many people watch it and if it's like people care or not, because this is a lot of work. I did kind of already do most of the work, so I probably should just finish the script, but if you want me to finish the script, tell me down below and I'll finish it. I'll make the next video. Anyway, I'm so glad you watched this video. Thank you for staying till the end. I know this one's probably longer. I don't know yet. I've been filming for over an hour, so oof. Please subscribe if you haven't. Like the video. Comment if you've seen zombies, how you feel about zombies. Give me your thoughts on zombies. I will see you in the next video. Have a good day. Hope you're doing well, and goodbye.